Hey kids, it's Pastor Tony, and today's lesson is part of our series called Humans, where each lesson talks more about us, you and me, about humans, the way that we were made, the things that we do, how we think, what we feel, how we act, and so much more. We are each uniquely, wonderfully made by God. That's why we're going to talk more about us. Let's talk about humans. For today's lesson, we will focus on this one fact about humans. We make choices every single day, throughout the day, so many times about so many different things. We are making choices. I was watching Preston use this book the other day. It's a maze book, and it's called From Here to There, a really cool maze book. It's super colorful. The mazes are kind of simple and kind of complicated at the same time. It just depends on which one you're looking at. See, it's like little roads. You can go up and down some steps, you might go over a bridge, and they're all designed differently. Some are only on one side of the book, and some mazes, they're on two pages right next to each other. As I watched Preston work through this book, he was making choice after choice. Do I go left, or do I choose to go right? Do I go forward, do I go backward? Maybe I should just erase my mistakes and start over. He was making a lot of choices. This book reminded me that all of us make choices every day. There's something else that you can see from where you are, right back there on the wall. You might not be able to read it, but it is a reminder to our family that we are making choices all the time. Back there on the wall, that artwork says, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Do you know when that showed up in the Bible? Do you know who said it? Do you remember who Joshua was? When we first hear about Joshua, he's working with Moses after the people of Israel left the land of Egypt. Joshua led Israel's army as their captain into many battles and wars, and he was appointed by God to lead the entire nation of Israel after Moses died. He served as Israel's leader while the people took control of the promised land. Throughout his life, Joshua led the people just the way that God wanted him to. After many years, Joshua begins to realize his life's coming to an end. And he wants to take one more time to give a speech to Israel to tell them that they need to choose to serve God. So he reminds them of everything that God has done for the nation of Israel for hundreds of years, how he provided for them, how he helped them. And if you wanted to read that speech, you could turn in your Bible to the book of Joshua, chapter 24, and you would read as Joshua reminds the people about what God did for them. He reminded the people that long ago their ancestors lived in a completely different part of the world. And while they lived there, they served other gods. But then the one true God called Abraham to follow him, and he led Abraham to the land of Canaan, and there he gave Abraham a son named Isaac. Isaac then had twins, Jacob and Esau. And Jacob's family ended up moving down to Egypt because that's where Joseph had provided and saved the entire world by planning ahead for the famine. Eventually, though, the descendants of Joseph grew to be so big that they ended up serving as slaves under the hand of Pharaoh. And that's when God sent Moses and Aaron to talk to Pharaoh, to tell him, "Let my people go." And God also sent the 10 plagues to convince Pharaoh that it was time for Israel to leave the land of Egypt. Then Joshua reminded the people that your parents, when they left Egypt, they were still being helped by God. They reached the Red Sea, and they thought they were going to die, but God rescued them at the Red Sea. And then God gave them the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. And then they ended up wandering around the desert for 40 years until we reached the Promised Land. And we defeated Jericho. And we fought army after army after army, and God gave us victory after victory after victory, and so much more. And after reviewing that history to Israel of how God had helped them for hundreds of years, he reminded the people that God was still there. And then he said this to the people, "But maybe you don't want to serve the Lord. You must choose for yourselves today. You must decide whom you will serve." Then Joshua said, "You know that there are false gods that are being worshipped by people who live far away from us and even by people who live near us. Who are you going to serve? You have to decide for yourself, serve the false gods or the one true God." And then Joshua said to everybody, As for me and my house, my family, we will serve the Lord. What does it mean to serve the Lord? Well, for you and me, it can simply mean to act like Jesus, to treat people like Jesus would, to act and react like Jesus would, to talk like Jesus would talk. We make choices all the time. And when we make those choices, are we choosing to be like Jesus or choosing to not be like Jesus? That's why it's important for us to remember what Joshua said to the people. You must decide whom you will serve. When you wake up in the morning, what are you like? Like, how easy is it to wake you up? Do mom and dad have to come in over and over again and tell you it's time to get up, it's time to get up, it's time to get up, and you don't listen? If your brother or sister come in and they shake you, stop, and you throw something at them and you complain, is that what Jesus would do? Is that the attitude that you should have? Is that how you serve the Lord? Probably not. That's why Joshua says you must decide whom you will serve. Serving God means acting like Jesus, speaking like Jesus. What if mom's doing your hair? Girls, what if mom is combing through your hair and it's tangled and it's snarling? Ow! Stop, mom, stop! Do you act like that with your mom? Do you even tell her thank you for what she's doing? How would Jesus act with his parents? You must decide whom you will serve. Have you ever gotten to school and you realized, oh man, I forgot something at home? Do you take responsibility or do you start blaming everybody else? It was mom's fault. She didn't put it in my bag. Dad, why did you take that out of my bag? But if it was your stuff, maybe you are the only one to blame. And instead of blaming everybody else, you just accept the fact that you forgot. What would Jesus do? If that happens, you must decide whom you will serve. How will you react? What will you say? What about when you're in class? You're in class and the teacher is speaking, and instead of really listening, you're just trying to find the next funny thing to say to the person next to you so they'll laugh. Kind of pay more attention to you than the teacher. Is that a good choice? Maybe you're at home and you're doing distance learning. I've never had to do it, and I believe it will be tough. And you're sitting there and you're looking at a computer. Are you paying attention? Or are you gaming off to the side or texting your friends or watching something on TV? What would Jesus do in that situation? Are you, like Jesus, going to choose to serve God? Remember what Joshua said? You must decide whom you will serve. Here's another choice. You're with kids at school, and they are your friends. Do you ever try to make new friends? Do you ever reach out to the new kid? What if a new kid came to your school? Would you dare to walk up and introduce yourself and ask them if there's anything they need help with, that you could show them where to find something, who to talk to? Maybe somebody else at school needs help with homework. Are you the kid who will sit there and be like, dummy, we've talked about that over and over and they don't get it. Oh, how could they be so stupid? Or are you going to walk up and ask them if maybe you could help them figure out what it is that they haven't yet figured out for homework? What would Jesus do? What will you do? You must decide whom you will serve. Have you ever been blamed for something that you didn't do? Yeah, you and your brother, your sister, you were playing around the house and somebody knocked into, I don't know, a decoration and it fell and it broke. Mom and dad don't know what happened, but when they come into the room, everybody starts trying to explain at the same time. It was, and they can't figure out the story, so they just say, look, all of you, sit down. I need to talk to each one of you individually. But Mom, it wasn't me. Or do you obey? And with respect, ask your mom, can I please explain what happened and why it wasn't me? What would Jesus do? What will you do next time? You must decide whom you will serve. Have you ever been bothered by one of your friends? And they were supposed to be a good friend, but suddenly they're talking bad about you to other people. They're making jokes about you and other people are laughing at you because of what they said. They're never going to be my friend again. Or maybe you sat down and you wrote a story, drew a picture, or did an art project, and it was really important to you, but when your friend came over, it wasn't that important to them, and as a joke, they scribbled on it or they tore it. How do you react? Do you shove? Do you hit? Do you get mad? Do you hold on to that anger? Or will you choose to talk to your friend about how they made you feel and ask them if maybe next time they could act differently, what would you do? You must decide in that moment whom you will serve. Have you ever played games with other people? Maybe outside, maybe around a table like board games, maybe you're gaming online. Do you always have to be the person that picks what mission you're going to do? Or who's going to go first? Or who gets to decide the rules? Does it always have to be you? Do you think your friends want to keep playing with you if you're always telling them what to do? In that situation, you have to decide, am I willing to listen to other people, or do I always have to be in charge? What would Jesus do? You must decide whom you will serve. Did anybody ever take your stuff without asking, and you saw them using it? Maybe it was a toy, a tablet. Maybe they sat in your seat. You got up to go get something. When you came back, they were in your seat. How did you react? You had a choice. Do I act like Jesus, or did you grab that thing, you took it back and said, what are you doing? What in the world? Look at what they did. Why would somebody do this to me? You took my spot, and then you pushed the person. Whoa! Is that the way that God wants us to react? Is that serving God? Joshua said to the people, you must decide whom you will serve. Have mom and dad ever called to you and your sister, your brother, and they said, hey, it's time to eat, go wash your hands. And suddenly, the two of you or the three or four of you are racing down that hallway to be the first one to the bathroom. And you're pulling and you're shoving and you're pushing people out of the way, but somebody gets there before you. Oh, suddenly, mom and dad, they were pushing, they were pulling, they're laughing at me. You were doing the same thing 10 seconds ago, and it was okay for you, but now it's not okay for them. Are you really upset about the pushing and the shoving, or are you more upset that it wasn't me, I wasn't first? How are you going to react the next time that happens? What would you do? What would Jesus do? You must decide whom you will serve in that moment. What if you come back to the table and you sit down to eat, and there on your plate, oh no, there's food that mom and dad know that you don't like. Ooh. And you know they're going to tell you, you have to eat what's on your plate. Do you immediately start complaining? You put it in your mouth and you pretend like you're gagging? Does that continue on and on? Or you start to make a bargain with mom and dad? Look, mom, what if I eat just 3? Is that what mom said? Well, what if I eat most of it? Is that what she said? Would Jesus try to bargain to make a deal with his parents, or would he choose to obey what they said? In that moment, you must decide whom you will serve. We are making choices all the time throughout the day. So many times about so many different things. Homework. Oh man, I didn't even mention homework. Think about all the choices you have to make when it comes to homework. Sometimes we make the right choices and we do what Jesus would do. Other times we fail and we don't respond the right way. We don't serve God. What do we do when we fail? Well, we can choose to ask God to forgive us and choose to learn from that failure about how to do things better the next time. Don't forget what we talked about today about humans. We make choices. And don't forget what Joshua said. He said to the people, you have to decide who you're going to serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You're going to face a lot of choices today. Who will you serve? God or just yourself? You have to decide. Hope you make the right choice. Oh, and while you're at it, I hope you choose to join us for the next lesson when we talk more about who God is, what he's like, and how we can be like him. Until then, my friends, have a great day. Bye.